Hi, babes. This is Chantel, the founder of Budget Travel Babes, and I'm here with Esther Inman, who is the CEO of Virtual Assistant Internship and the 90-Day VA program. Today, we're going to be talking about working online to save money to travel or to work online while traveling long term. So Esther has been working online for more than 6 years. She's developed multi-six-figure businesses and helped more than 2,000 women work online as virtual assistants. Thanks so much for coming on with us, Esther.
I'm super excited to be here and drop all of the knowledge bombs and nuggets to help as many of you get started working from home for real, not having to sell things to anybody or sell your soul to some kooky business thing, actual real ways to earn an income while you're traveling.
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the things we're talking about in my group today, is that because you've helped so many people and you've gone through so many different stages of working online, I was like, she is one of the absolute experts to be talking about this and answering all the biggest questions. Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your story, which I think is very inspirational, and it really helps people get an idea of how to get, one of the ways you can get started and how you could potentially progress through that as well.
Yeah. So my story is like you said, it kind of like checks a lot of the life situations that people find themselves in. So I was a military spouse and my son was 3 years old at the time. And that was why I had to figure out how to work from home. I was working a corporate job and I didn't hate my job, but I was commuting an hour each day. I was never seeing my kid. And when you're a military spouse, your husband or wife is gone all the time. They're either deployed or they're working like 12-hour days. My husband was working nights, so we literally didn't see him all week long. We got to see him for a day and a half over the weekend. That was it. So I was completely on my own for the most part. So I don't want to say single mom because single moms have to deal with a lot more, but I was definitely solo parenting. And so that brings up a lot of challenges. Who's going to take off time for the sick time of either me or if my son is ill? Anytime we need to have like a delivery or the repairman, like guess who it's going to fall on? He can't do it. So it was tough and not easy. And I couldn't take it anymore. I was absolutely miserable. And I just felt like I was wasting so much time. Like in meetings I didn't need to be in, commuting an hour each way. It was dumb and I was really depressed. So we didn't have a backup plan, but we just quit. I just quit my job. My husband supported me because he saw how absolutely miserable I was because I was doing everything. It was insane. And I couldn't take it anymore. And so he was like, nothing is worth this. Like we'll figure out the finances piece of it and all that stuff. So I pulled my son out of childcare, which was $1,200 a month for the amount of childcare I needed. So it was almost an entire paycheck, BTW. And I was making pretty good money. And pulled him out of childcare and decided I was going to figure it out. And after, I think it took me 2 or 3 months of doing I would just do side hustle, odd jobs, just to because I would get bored. I was not made to be a stay-at-home mom. And eventually I figured out how to be a virtual assistant. I applied for a job on Craigslist. Spoiler alert. I used my background skills that I had and then learned a whole bunch of new ones on the job. I was working 30 hours a week for $20 an hour, and I ended up taking home almost the same that I was making before because after taxes and putting in for retirement and paying for childcare, so I was making about the same thing. It was amazing. I didn't have to commute. It made a huge difference, and I started this is amazing. I just get to work around my son's schedule, and I'm making great money. But what happened is I started telling people about this and saying, hey, can you help me? I have so much work. I mean, I was crazy booked out in a very short amount of time because good virtual assistants are in very high demand. So you get referred like crazy. And I couldn't take on anymore. So I was like, hey, friend, do you want to take on this person? You'd work for them doing social media posts or blog writing or these things for them. And they're like, what's a virtual assistant? I don't know how to write a blog. What are you talking about? None of it they knew how to do. I said, this is crazy. They're stuck trying to sell me weight loss shakes and other network marketing products. And they're so frustrated that it's not working for them when I'm offering them, 20 to 30 US dollars per hour. And they're like, I don't know how to do that stuff. And I don't know where to even learn it. So I started mentoring some women on base and some other moms in my area and just teaching them what I knew and then referring them clients. And that is basically what turned into 90-Day VA. After about a year or so of doing that, my husband was having a really hard time exiting out of the Marine Corps and was really struggling. His contract ended. and he wasn't able to work, but unemployment and disability hadn't kicked in yet. And so we were in this really weird limbo spot, and we didn't know when it was going to end. And so we only had my income, which wasn't enough to live on, in the current house and the 2 cars and the whole thing that we had set up. So when you lose someone's income like that, it makes a huge difference. So my car got repossessed. We had to move out of our 3-bedroom house. We moved into a 1-bedroom apartment that didn't require a deposit. We had to get on food stamps because we literally had no money for food. And I remember having to call one of my friends and say, would you mind paying our water bill because our water is going to get turned off? So been there. That was fun. I still remember that friend, and I'm like, we'll forever be thankful to her because it was such a like embarrassing and shameful moment. Anyway, so and unfortunately my husband wasn't doing better, and our marriage was really having a lot of issues. Obviously we were under a lot of stress, and he was just going through a lot. And so I ended up having to leave. So my son and I left in an Uber because I had no car. And and we left, and I went and stayed with a friend for a few months, stayed with some family for a few months, and then decided that, you know what, it's time for us to start our digital nomad adventure. And we're going to turn this into a positive experience because we don't have any stuff. We sold it all, and most of it's in storage otherwise. So we got a suitcase each. Let's go. And so we moved to Bali, and we based there for 3 years and traveled the world. And then after about a year of being separated, my husband and I had been planning for divorce, but he really got himself situated. He got himself like more stable and really wanted to reunite our family and repair our marriage. And so we actually flew out to Bali to win me back, and we ended up getting back together, and we traveled the world together for those 3 years that we ended up staying in Bali. So that's the story. And then throughout that, I was running 90 Day VA and running my agency, and I continued to work with clients up until about a year ago, until 90 Day VA was just growing so fast because so many people wanted to learn online work skills that I was teaching. And so now 90 Day VA is what I do, and the program that I run, helping people work from home. That's it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I've heard your story a few times, and every time I'm just like, that's such an incredible story. And I think also because essentially you were just trying to find how to make it work, like how to pay the bill, or like, like what's the best thing for you and your son at that time, and then what was the best thing for your family, and then and by making the decisions you made, you ended up with this amazing dream life that but it took a lot of hard work and like
so much work. Really. Yeah, it was a lot of work. There was a year or 2 in Bali that I was running an agency with like a team of 12 people working for me. We're building online courses for clients. So my journey was, I was a virtual assistant, and then I started focusing on building online courses, and then I built a 6-figure agency doing that. And so there was one point where I was running that, and then I also was running 90 Day VA at the same time. It was crazy time. And being a mom and traveling. So hard work, yes.
Yeah. And I think it's really incredible because as you said, like you started out like, okay, I need a job, go onto Craigslist and find a job because you just needed to have a change, and then open up this whole world. And then you just started learning different skills. So these things that you're talking about, like virtual assistant or like running an online agency or creating courses, they might sound foreign to a lot of people, and they sound foreign to me at a time, to you as well. But that's, once you took the first step, you started being open to all these different opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I tell people is that when I first applied for a job on Craigslist to be a virtual assistant, I didn't know that it was going to end up me living in Bali and traveling the world and like, no, I had no idea that's where it was going to go. I could only take the step that was in front of me, and each step is presented to you. You're never going to have like this whole plan and know exactly what you want to do. And some people don't even want to be a virtual assistant because they're like, I just don't think I'd like to do that forever. Yeah, okay, so just do it for like a year. So, but you can't get there to the end thing unless you can take the steps. And even that's not the end. Like, our story didn't end in Bali. We still have done more since then. So you just have to do the next thing that's presented in front of you. And you can't obsess about like, well, what's going to be the grand picture? Like, just keep going. Just keep moving ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And you build on the foundation, like you create a foundation and a knowledge base, and then you build on top of it.
Yes.
And maybe you end up going in one direction, but you can really draw back onto some of the experiences that you had. And that's what I found as well. I started doing I started out like doing social media, and then now I've ended up specializing in like I've actually done all different types of marketing, but it's always been useful, even though I didn't end up. I'm not really like, I know a little bit of everything, so I'm a little bit of a generalist, but I definitely have learned it's better to specialize, and look at things from a strategic point of view. But I've never regretted the things that I learned or the things that I did, even if I didn't end up proceeding down that direction. So
yeah, exactly. Starting as like a general VA is perfect because you get to work with lots of different business types. You get to do lots of different things for them, all kinds of stuff. And then you'll start to figure out what you really want to specialize in. And you can do that in 3 months. You can do it in 6 months. You can do it in 2 years. Like there's no special timeline.
yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about like, so virtual assistant. Now, you know, we have people out there who may already know what, say, like a receptionist, an executive assistant, a personal assistant is, these kind of roles, or an administrative assistant. So how could you relate like a virtual assistant, and how would that be different?
So there are personal virtual assistants. I have one. She does all kinds of stuff for me. We just moved house and she's like ordering all this stuff for my house. So I just give her like lists of things and what website I want them from, and she goes and does it. She makes appointments for me to get my car registered. So there's definitely personal virtual assistant work out there for sure. I know there's a great company called Boldly, and they hire for that all the time, but you have to have 7 years experience because they take it really seriously. And that is a big thing that I think people think, well, I can just do personal stuff for someone. I don't need to do any training and learn online skills. But nobody's going to hire you just like that, because they have to have a lot of trust built up with you to give you their credit card information, their social security number, their car information, so you can make an appointment for them at the DMV. So they're not just going to like, oh, she says she's a VA on LinkedIn, a personal VA. Let me just send her all my stuff. Like, no. my VA worked for me doing Pinterest for like 6 months. And then I finally said, maybe she'd be a good PA and do more personal stuff for me too. So it takes a lot of time to build up to do that. So even if you think, oh, I could just go and be a PA, like you can't unless you have extensive experience in that already. So that's just a note on that one. But that is stuff that people can offer as a VA. It's still usually called a virtual assistant. Someone might call it a virtual personal assistant, but there's usually not a title change there. Most of what I teach and what I'm talking about though is my course in particular focuses on content repurposing. So I'll talk about the stuff that's included in that because it's the top stuff that people are asking for online, but then I'll tell some more things that people just hire for in general that I don't necessarily teach in my program. The biggest thing is being able to take a piece of content. If you think about today's bit to be doing like a lot. So they have to somehow be the CEO and do their own bookkeeping and figure out how to get stuff ready for tax time and figure out all the different social media platforms, the best strategies for them, and what making posts for all of them with the photos and the captions and the links and the whole shebang. If they're trying to go into any way of like a digital thing, like we have a restaurant here that we love and they weren't making very good money on the ordering apps. And so they had to somehow make their own ordering app and get the whole setup so that they could make more money on it. And I was thinking, I was like, did the restaurant owner do that? No, I bet you they hired somebody. That's a great gig. Someone should just market themselves as helping restaurants get into like being able to take virtual orders. I'm actually going to tell my students to do this because that's just a whole bunch of like admin and Googling and researching and then setting it up. Like a restaurant owner doesn't know how to do any of that. Just another example. I want you to start thinking about what business owners, they don't know how to do any of this stuff. They know how to make shampoo. That's what their business is. They don't know how to like sell it and make all the social media pages for it and follow up. If somebody has a podcast, they know how to be on the podcast. They don't know how to do audio editing for it. They don't know how to make the graphics for it. They don't know how to do any of that. So either they're going to take a huge course and invest a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of money into that, or they're just going to hire someone to do it for them. Or they've gotten so busy, they don't have time to do the podcast anymore. Like me, they just want to do the recording and then they got to hand it off to somebody and they got to do the rest. So anyway, a whole bunch of examples to start to get your mind thinking. And in my program, we teach content repurposing because of the amount of content that a business has to put out there right now. So we teach them how to take, maybe you were given an audio snippet or a video or a Facebook Live, and you're able to turn that into a blog post that sounds like it's written from that business, that person who's the business owner, including SEO and all the graphics and Pinterest graphics that go along with it, and knowing how to post onto WordPress for them. Do you see how much time that you just saved somebody? Like that's an insane amount of time, hours and hours and hours. You're also able to turn it into an edited video and get it up on YouTube. and you're able to turn it into a podcast with all the graphics and post it on the proper channels, the whole shebang. And social media posts the graphics and captions that are actually like strategic and well done for Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, and how to do like the Pinterest management with tailwinds and stuff. So that's the kind of stuff I teach, because that's the stuff that people are hiring for all the time. Other stuff that virtual assistants might do, maybe just customer service, just answering emails. Like I have somebody who's just answering questions constantly for people who are interested in my course, or a current student that needs help finding something or needs their payment thing changed. There's so many online courses and online programs in schools now, and they all hire people virtually just to do support. And it's not like a customer service role where it's like, here's our phone line and I'm going to call in and wait on hold and then talk to this person. No, it's usually just one or two people that work for them that really know their program intimately and are very connected with the students and potential students. And then what other stuff? And then bookkeeping, very light bookkeeping, but you know, somebody who's going to pay the team every month or twice a month, somebody who's going to keep the QuickBooks relatively organized. You don't need to be a professional. Anybody can take a QuickBooks class and then be able to maintain it for someone. Gather the documents from QuickBooks and send them to the tax professional once a year. So there's like just admin stuff from a business that needs to get done too, emailing back and forth, setting appointments, things like that. There's like lots of just admin that needs to get done to run a business, both online or in person. We'll often hire virtual people too, because if you have like a shop, you're not going to hire the social media person to come sit in the back of the shop. No. And the owner of the shop doesn't know how to do it. So yeah, lots of things.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting about when you're talking about it, it makes sense to me because I have my own business. And so when I look at how I spend my time, I look at the activities that could be outsourced. And so I know there's things that aren't really, that are pretty like, I guess kind of low value, or that don't require a lot of like a high skill level that I probably shouldn't be doing. So I know the things that I would get, like, and I've had VAs before, like virtual assistants, that I would give them. But if someone's never worked online before, if they don't have any idea about like what it would be to become a virtual assistant, they wouldn't know from that other side what businesses are looking for. So I think that's really handy to know, and like, and thank you for sharing that. So
that's helpful.
Yeah. And so I have like a few questions that I'm going to add in that came from the group as well. So one of them is, so a lot of it, this and may not be for virtual assistants, but do you know of examples of online opportunities that wouldn't be related to marketing? Or have you seen people that have gone through your course, or people that you've known that end up doing online work that's not related to marketing at all?
Virtual assistants don't do marketing. You may do like content marketing, but that's basically just making sure that if you write a blog post, that at the end of the blog post, you're encouraging someone to take an action. But the action could be, it's called a call to action, or CTA. The action could be, join my email list for more about this. Follow me on Instagram. I just shared a video about this. It's just encouraging someone to take the next step with that brand. And I teach the strategy behind content development in 90 Day VA, for example. So you can understand, so that you're not just making content to make content, like social media posts or podcasts. Like there should be a little bit of, okay, well, what's the goal that we're trying to achieve here? But otherwise, virtual assistants do not do marketing. So anytime somebody's asking you, oh, can you do some Facebook posts and do some Facebook marketing for me? Tell them no, because Facebook marketers get paid a lot of money. Google marketers get paid a lot of money. And typically when this happens, is because the business owner, maybe they just don't know, or they're just trying to be cheap. And they're like, I don't know how to do it. I'll just have the VA do it. And you're going to be responsible for the terrible results that you're going to get because you don't know what you're doing. So, but at the same time, like, don't get freaked out about it, because there's great Facebook marketing classes out there and Google marketing, and anybody can learn it and anybody can do it. It's not that complicated. Like, I say that it's not that complicated, but I mean, anybody can also learn how to code. Like some of the stuff that we think is so hard, and they all started from zero knowledge, just like you. And they all had to put in the time and learn it and work at it just like you. So don't put anything in that category of that's too hard, I can't do that, oh, that's going to take years, because it's not true. So if you want to take a class on marketing and offer it, great, but you don't have to. You can work from home as a virtual assistant, or in any of the stuff I talk. You could just do copywriting. You could just do podcasts. You could just do Pinterest, and none of that has anything to do with marketing. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a really nice distinction you make, because I see that in some of the Facebook groups that people are looking for help with certain things, and they'll often mislabel it. Like, I really need a virtual assistant to do these things. And I'm like, that's not a virtual assistant, or vice versa.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
So, and I think that comes from both sides, but so I think that's a really important distinction to make. And then another person asked in my group if there's any online opportunities that aren't tech related. And all the things that you've described, I wouldn't consider them to be very techy. And even yeah, I think that even like for editing, like video editing and podcasting, I think it's just a matter of getting used to the software that's being used, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, like we teach how to use free versions of the software so that you can then practice on your own, and then you can just edit your own videos and get practice on it. And like, I edit videos for TikTok using an app on my phone. Like, anybody can do this stuff, guys. This is stuff anybody. And you know how many people would love for you to work for them, just making TikToks for them because they don't have time? So many people. So most of that jobs I find are not techie at all. I think the techie ones are stuff to do with coding and web development. And again, there's great coding classes out there too, and you can learn how to build WordPress sites, and it's not that hard. But at the same time, they might hire you as a virtual assistant. Hey, I know you're probably not a web developer, but I need help building my site. We're going to use something like Wix to make it, which is a drag and drop, easy to use website builder. And they could figure out themselves, or they just pay you to figure it out. And they don't care that you don't know how to do it. And that might take you a little bit longer. So most of the jobs are not super techy. There's so much out there, and you can learn how to use a very simple audio editing software. My son is 9 and I taught him how to do it. So
there you go. There's hope for all of us then. No excuses. So one of the, and I've actually watched you talk about this on YouTube, but so I also like to hear your thoughts about this, about if you need to start a business to work online.
No. So you can just apply to work for remote companies and just work for them. That's fine. Lots of great fully remote companies, and more every day because of the current pandemic. At the time of this recording, like, it's just such a great time to transition into online work. Because for me, I've been shouting from the rooftops for 6 to 7 years, you can have your company online, you can work remotely, you can save money on real estate costs. And now people are finally figuring it out. So you're seeing huge mega companies like Facebook and Twitter that are like, we're just going to stay working remotely. And do you know how much money they're saving because they don't have to pay crazy Silicon Valley rent? It's crazy. So all these companies and brands are already making this transition. You're at a prime time. So if you want to just work for a company as a remote employee, you can. That's fine. If you want to go the route of being a virtual assistant, to me, or something like that. Let's say online service provider, a copywriter, Pinterest person, podcasting, whatever. Or maybe you start as a VA and then you find what you really like and you niche into that. Okay, so let's say online service provider, or you can either just have one business owner that you work with, or like 2, and every month they pay you the same time and for the same set of tasks or for the same amount of hours, just like a normal job. They just don't have you an employee because that's just not the way their business is organized. They don't need to make you an employee for whatever the reasons are. You can decide that you want to go the agency route like I did, where I had lots of different clients. I worked project-based and I had a whole bunch of people who worked for me. That's more of like a business. So really you can decide how you want to do it. Or if you want to, but to me, that's not working online. I always differentiate. Like, if you want to develop a product and you want to sell it, that's a business. If you want to work for a network marketing company and sell face cream, fine. That's a business. That's not like getting paid by the hour or paid by the project or by task to do something and it's consistent paycheck every 2 weeks or every month. They're 2 different things. No reason you can't have both or whatever you want to do, but I think it's important to differentiate between the 2, and people know that just because somebody's a virtual assistant and maybe is technically a contractor doesn't mean that they're not getting paid every 2 weeks by this business owner to do these things. And they have to give them 30 days notice to let them go, just like any other employee company relationship.
Yeah. And I think, so we won't go too deep into it because I'll find a YouTube video, but let's talk about from a US perspective. So if you're American and you're living in the US and you want to get a remote job, that would be like any other job in most cases. And then if you wanted to work remotely as an employee, so it would be essentially the same. But then how would that then be if you were a freelancer or subcontractor? Is there a lot of work that's involved with that?
Like in differentiating yourself between the 2?
I guess because I know in the US, I know that people have to sometimes, I don't know how you have to register or for tax purposes.
Oh, like what you have to do. I don't think it's that much more work. I think it takes you about an hour. And I have a whole YouTube video about it where I talk with a business lawyer. So I think we should link to that because it'll be really helpful. Like every state is different in America. So you basically have to look up your state and that video gives you some guidance, but it talks about like, you kind of have to say that you can just not, and you can just use your social security number and work underneath that as like a self-employed contractor person. Or you could file as an LLC for like $40 or whatever. And then it's a little bit different way of running things underneath yourself. And then the biggest thing that you would want to do, there's a couple other things you want to like set up a separate bank account so that the money that you make from any of the jobs that you choose to do online, or even if it's just one or two businesses that you're going to work for, is going into that account. And the great news is that you can expense a whole bunch of stuff. So if you have a home office, you can expense a huge chunk of your mortgage or rent every single month. At the end of the year, any gas that you're driving or a part of your car, if you're, doesn't even have to be going to work stuff. It could be going to like trainings and traveling. Like this is a great way for people who love to travel to get lots of tax write-offs. So every year we fly to Connecticut for a business mastermind event that I'm in. And it's 2 hours away from my family who live in Maine. And so we're able to take the train between the two. So I guess I get like a tax write-off trip to go see my family twice a year. It's awesome. Same thing, it's in San Diego. When I go visit my family in San Diego, I make sure that there's a business thing that I'm doing there. And so then I get to write off that whole trip and I get to expense the whole thing. So it's like, it's a little bit of work in the beginning to kind of get it set up, but in the long run, you get paid more because you have to pay your own taxes. But there's really easy software to help you with all of this. So it becomes just quite normal and easy. And like a course like mine or the YouTube video that I'm talking about talks more about that kind of stuff. So it's not that hard. And then the benefits are you just get so many more things that you get to expense and you don't have to pay tax on. So I was just reading a book by a tax professional and he says there is no reason why people should not have a side hustle, especially if you're American, because of the tax incentives that are there for you. So even if you only work 5 hours a week, you're going to now be able to expense so many more things and not have to pay tax on things that you're using in your daily life. Like we just got home security system in our whole house. Well, guess what? A huge percentage of it I get to write off because the percentage of my home office counts as home security for my home office. And so, yeah, it's just stuff. I think it's awesome and it's not that hard and people need to not be freaked out about it. And once you kind of get it going, it's done and it's set up. So it takes you maybe an hour or two and then you're set up and raring to go.
Yeah, I think that's amazing because I think that's one of the things that people are really worried about is how, like, you know, all the paperwork. And I can say for Australia, I work as a sole trader. So I just have my tax number and then I have like a business number. It was like super easy to set up.
So easy. It takes like 5 minutes to get the number.
Yeah. And then like I also can expense a lot of things as well. So like travel expenses and, you know, obviously tech purchases, part of our rent, phone related things. So yeah, that's definitely like a perk.
Did you feel like it was worth it?
Well, I can do it even without having to register. Like I'm just doing it as a sole trader. I didn't have to register like as a business in the sense like an S corp or an LLC, or I'm not sure of the American terminology, but
it's the same idea that you just go online and like fill it out and then it's done. So it sounds like it's very similar. But yeah, do you feel like the tax breaks and the incentive, like the things that you're able to expense and stuff is worth the hassle of going to get that number?
Yeah, no, it takes literally no time at all. So, and even now, the people who were self-employed, so because obviously of coronavirus happening and then people's businesses have been affected, there's like government support for people who are self-employed, but you have to have an Australian business number. So if anyone was self-employed and they didn't take the 2 minutes to get their Australian business number before, they really screwed themselves over.
Yeah, there's lots of great programs and resources for people who are self-employed. And again, self-employed doesn't mean that you don't have a person who every month is paying you twice a month the same amount for work. It doesn't mean that it's any more or less secure than being an employee formally. It's just a different way that the business is going to categorize you. And so the government, they got to get their tax. And so they just want to make sure that they have you categorized in the right way. That's really all it is. It's no big deal. You can do it.
I love it. Okay, great. So I know that you have a Facebook group, which is Work From Home Without Selling Anything, I believe. And that so that's a free Facebook group that anyone can join. They don't even have to be part of your program. and you regularly share job opportunities in there. And so those job opportunities that you usually share, they're usually sort of entry-level remote jobs, or how would you describe the sort of jobs that you share?
We try to find them that are relatively entry level. We try to have a mix. So we know that most of the people in there don't have like years of remote experience necessarily. So most of the ones in there are like entry-ish level for customer service, or like bookkeeping, or sometimes writing positions that don't require years and years and years of experience, because we know that that's kind of who's in that group. We post about 7 at least per week. We try and do 1 per day. And then you can also, when you join the group, you can get an email, and every Friday we do like a roundup, and we'll have all the jobs in there, as well as any new podcast episodes, or like free blog post about how to file your business in Australia, like stuff like that that we have for everybody for the week will go out on Fridays. So you can join the newsletter when you join the group.
Okay, perfect. And then so if someone has already got, they've already got a few skills that they think they can use to look for remote jobs, or they've completed your course, what are some of the places that you would recommend that people look for online work?
Yeah, so my favorite resources, I love Guava Bean. I'm going to be on their podcast soon. Guava Bean's awesome. They have a Facebook group. They also have a newsletter too. They have tons of jobs in there. So many jobs every single week for all different levels of skills. And then Remote Work Hub, they're like this hub literally of a directory of remote companies and remote job boards, and they have so much on there that you can start to comb through. I can tell you what I did too is I found some remote companies. Actually, another video we can share too is 20 remote companies that are hiring right now. That'd be a great one to share. I have that on my YouTube as well. But you can go on those company pages, and you can actually like send yourself an alert on their careers page that every time those companies maybe post a new job. So maybe you don't see something that you qualify for at the time at a company like Zapier or Automatic, which are both remote companies, and they usually are hiring for like all kinds of niches, like from finance to customer service to coding, like everything in between. You can set an alert if you don't quite see something you want, and then whenever there's an update to that careers page, it'll email you, and then maybe you'll get a job from there too. So it's kind of nice to do a mix between stuff like that, and then the remote job boards, and then just looking at companies that you would love to work for, and it seems like they could use some help, and just messaging them, and just get the ball rolling, and tell everybody in your community that you know, because you know some people who have a business, and they would probably love to give you a little trial project, or an internship, or even if you're like, hey, can I just read your Instagram for you? I think I could really help you get more engagement. I'd love to do, you know, a month of takeover or something like that, and just get the ball rolling. And if they love it, they'll hire you on. If not, great. Now you got a great experience and a testimonial out of it.
Yeah, I really, really love that. And so for anyone who's like super interested, besides all the links that I'm going to share about Esther, she also did an interview with Jenny from Digital Nomad Girls, and you talked about this idea of offering to do like a free trial. So if I was starting out as a virtual assistant, or really any kind of service-based business, I could offer to do a certain amount of hours for free in exchange for a testimonial. And so my partner Max, he does video editing, and well, he was doing videography, not so much on location videography now, but he wanted to work with like restaurants, hotels, and tour companies. And so he literally went around, and because he's a chef, he also knows what a good restaurant is, and he approached different restaurants, and he offered to make a video for them, like a promotional video, and they were thrilled, and it was great. And it was he worked with all their team. They had like an influencer who came, and so he worked with her and her boyfriend like as actors, and it was an amazing experience. And he got a testimonial, and then that was the first totally free project he did. And then after that, he started progressing to doing an exchange. So then he would get like a free tour or a hotel stay, and then onto like paid work. So it was really a stepping stone.
Yeah, my whole company is called Virtual Assistant Internship. The program is 988, but the whole company, and that is why, because that is I think that for some reason in college, it's normal to do internships. Like when my background's in teaching, I taught for free for like 2 years. And nobody balks at that. That's normal to do internships in college and after college too. But for some reason, when we're moving into the online space, we don't think about it, or we're like, I don't want to do work for free, or we get freaked out to offer to do it. Like, what if I mess it up? Well, what if you do? It's a great learning experience. How else are you going to learn? That's the whole point of doing it. So I think that we forget that in the remote workspace and the online workspace, and it's such a great way to learn. It's such a great way to build relationships. And even if that particular company that hired your partner Max never turned into something else, but they're going to refer him around, and they're going to tell everybody they know, oh, this guy, he's great. He made this awesome video for me. And the video is going to speak for itself because now it's posted online. So you have to think about that too. You're building a portfolio of work every time you do something. And I'm not saying you do free work for people for a year or 6 months or a full time. No. Put parameters on it. So 1 month or this particular project or 1 month for X amount of hours, like whatever the things are to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of. But typically it can be a win-win for both people if you tackle it in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, like he had a testimonial. The video actually had both, it was co-branded, so it has his branding and their branding on it. So if they shared the video, then he also got, because it was a free video. So when he started doing paid projects, then he didn't put his branding on it. But when he started doing free, like his first project was free, and then his other projects were exchanges, it was co-branded. So essentially he was also getting marketing and the testimonials, and it's part of his portfolio. So I think it's definitely like you said, like it's being a little bit strategic about it and not giving everything away or not working free forever, but it's definitely a good way to get experience.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we were talking a little bit about this before, but I would love to hear your tips. Maybe just share a few about how we can avoid any work from home, like scams or get rich, like work from home, get rich, like make $5,000 an hour.
Yes, absolutely. Let me change positions here. Sorry, I'll have to edit this part. Ugh, I'm getting uncomfortable. I'm so scrunched. So it'll be a clean edit for you. Okay, work from home scams. Yes. So the biggest thing is stop blaming all of these companies and stop blaming all of them for those trying to scam me. The ownership is always going to be back on you. So you need to start being aware of what the signs are for a scam and not get tricked into it and be like, that's a scam. You also have to start trusting your gut. If your gut is telling you, well, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't feel right, then trust it. Now that's a little bit different from maybe being like, I think I'm like excited / nervous / I don't know what my feelings are because this could be something cool. That's totally a different feeling. A gut feeling of like, this seems not real and fake. Trust that. All right. So that's the first step. Other things you can look at, anything that's a get rich quick thing, like make $5,000 in 1 month, blah, 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 already a scam. Throw it out the door. We're not doing it. So goodbye that. That's all just a bunch of baloney. I built $1 million business and it took me 7 years. So let's just be real here. It takes a while and a lot of hard work. The other thing is that you can look for is anytime somebody is like, we want to hire you, let's get going. And they haven't interviewed you. You've never sent a resume to them. Like they just popped into your LinkedIn inbox or something. Also a scam. Goodbye. No, thank you. And then the other biggest kind of thing you can look for is typically, it's really weird, but if they're using Google Hangouts to do the interview, a lot of times it can be fake. For some reason, the Google Hangouts is like their go-to. I think because they don't want to use a paid software, maybe because it's a scam. So I don't know, but that's one that I've noticed. And then the last one is if they're like, we're going to send you a check or like put money into your account so you can buy office equipment, and then you'll deposit the check and then send us back the check or buy this equipment. Any of this weird crap, no, that's not real. If you are hired on as like a contractor type person, you're going to be paying, you're going to have your own laptop that you're going to use. If you're working for a proper remote company like Zapier or Automatic, you should be able to find lots of information about them online. It shouldn't be this like hidden person who messaged you on LinkedIn, first of all. And then second of all, they're going to have a program where like part of your onboarding package is sending you the equipment. They're not going to ask you to like deposit a check and then buy it and buy the special software that we use. Nothing like that. You shouldn't be paying for anything when you're going to start a job. That's another big scam sign. Now, paying for training so that you can qualify for online jobs like 90 Day VA or taking a photography class so that you can start offering photography, like that's a different type of thing. But if they're saying, hey, we'd love to hire you, please deposit this check and buy this office supplies and this software that we use, it's a scam. So yeah, those are like the biggest signs.
Yeah. And I think one of the things is, as you said, like if it's a company, like a legitimate company, you can find things about them online. You should be able to find like obviously their website, and then, you know, if they have customer testimonials, or maybe I think, I don't know if it's Glassdoor's in the US, or you can see what other people that have worked there have written about it. Then also about the testimonials. So I often see like with when you advertise about 90-day VA, and it happened today, someone commented on it, this is a scam. And then actually, obviously one of your former students or current students commented underneath and was like saying, no, I've done this program, it's amazing. Like Esther teaches really valuable skills. And so that's the other thing, is to see if you can find these like testimonials from customers, and it looks like legit, like Facebook comments, that kind of things that can't really be replicated.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really great, well-known remote companies out there. So don't discount the stuff that you see. But usually the telltale signs is they'll literally just hire you without an interview or without you even applying. Or they'll be like, I looked at your LinkedIn profile and it seems like you'd be a great fit. We'd love to hire you on. That's like the most basic one that you're going to see. And then if you make it to the interview phase, if it's on Google Hangouts, that should be your second sign. Then if you make it to the like, we've hired you phase, then your third sign is going to be that we've sent you a check. Please deposit it. That check's going to bounce and you've already bought their stupid software. Like those are the usually like telltale signs. So before you get to this one, I hope that you check off these boxes before and you're like, I'm out. And don't get discouraged. It happens to people. Or you don't get excited even. Like this is my problem. People get really excited because somebody inboxed them and offered them a job. I'm like, don't get excited. Who does that? Nobody just hires you without interviewing you. You didn't even apply for the job. So just don't get excited and just be like, ugh, so annoying, and then move on.
Wow. Yeah, I think I've heard LinkedIn also, people getting job offers on LinkedIn, and they're probably thinking like, my profile must be amazing. I didn't even interview for it. Yeah, so also some of the other things like, one of the ones that I've seen recently as well, I've seen it come up my group a few times, and I don't know if you hear it, is I think there's this new thing about like multi-level marketing with travel agents. And like that's really new. So I would be a little bit cautious about anything like that. Like anything that does, like you said, that doesn't have a website, that you need to watch a 20-minute video to understand what it's about, that you need to like refer 10 people. I don't know if that's always been around, or I'm just seeing it coming up a lot recently.
No, I think the travel agent is from the last year or two. And just so everybody knows, like being a travel agent is a business. That's a business. There's not really a lot of companies that are hiring virtual travel agents. It's a business. So they have companies that are like business, or they can be recruiting people, and there's like network marketing pieces to it. So if you want to do that, you can like get discounts on your own travel. Maybe if you're a virtual assistant, you can book your clients' travel for yourself and then get some kickback from it. That's fine. But just know that that's what it is. You're not getting a paycheck. That's a travel agent. Okay? And honestly, to me, you don't need to do that. You could just market yourself as a virtual travel planner and just do it. Like that can be, as a virtual assistant, one of the things you offer. Sorry, was that loud? Can you hear that?
No, I can't. No, it's fine.
They're moving the stuff in, I think, right now. One of the things they say
about virtual assistants offering travel.
So one of the things you can offer as a virtual assistant, right? You could say like, I do copywriting, I do personal virtual assistant tasks, I do travel planning. Like that's a super normal thing that you can do. And also if you love the travel industry, you don't need to be a travel agent to work in the travel industry. I have a whole bunch of VAs that work for travel influencers, and they get to go on trips with them sometimes. They book their travel for them. They help their Instagram brand. Like they still work, or they work for like a travel brand of some kind, and they do all the admin for that, and then they get to travel as much as they want because they work online. So there's a way to fulfill your travel like love without being a travel agent.
Yeah, 100%. When I've actually worked in like a corporate job before, actually two jobs where it was like related. So one was working in finance, and we were doing like logistics and travel bookings for investors, and the other one was working for a university. And so I also helped out with bookings and like the finance side of it, like funding their trip and all that kind of stuff. So those are really great skills, and those are things that companies need help with. So absolutely, I could see this as being a really great skill to offer. As you know, obviously it could also be a full-time job, but then it's really great if you have it as one of your many skills if you're starting out.
Yeah, and that's going to open you up to so many more jobs that you're going to be able to do because you have so many things you can offer instead of only looking for travel jobs. Like now you can apply for all kinds of things and you can just directly message travel brands and be like, hey, do you guys need help? I know of several travel brands that have hired my people or my people have started working with them and it's great. Match made in heaven. So yeah, you don't have to be a travel agent and start your own business and start recruiting people, and don't get trapped into that thinking you're going to be a travel agent with a paycheck because it's not what it is.
Yeah, definitely. So this next question is really an interesting one. Do you think it's really possible to work online and travel long term?
Yeah, I did it for 3 years.
Well, and what I'm interested to,
It's like mind-blowing to people that this is what people do, but go look in Digital Nomad Girls. There's tens of thousands of us in there that are doing that. My entire family did it. Everybody, just so you know, I have a team of like 12 people who work for me. All of them are digital nomads. They all live all over the world. I have people from around the world that work for me, and they all travel almost full-time too. So I will say that it's very difficult if you're working online and then you want to be on a constant travel. So typically you'll find digital nomads that do slow traveling, which is what we did. We based in Bali, and from there we would take trips about every 2 months and we'd go for a week somewhere else. Then we'd come home, recoup, get back to normal, and then do like another week. So that's more common of what you'll see. So oh my God, so loud. You can't hear that?
you're fine. It's really fine. We can edit that out. We can edit out the background sound because Max is.
Oh, okay. So, one of my team members, she spends half the year in Germany and then half the year in Taiwan just because they want to. And then they travel from both of those places during that time too. So the reason I say that is because I think that I like to break the illusion of I just carry my laptop with me everywhere I go, and I'm in the beaches of Bali one day and I'm in Taiwan the next. Like, yes, but you have to take a whole day off to do that travel, and when you do that when you're working, it's hard. So that's why people tend to like slow it down so that they actually, because you're working like all week, it's not like you're just sightseeing, you're not a tourist. So that's why they go for longer. You have more time to do the sightseeing, more time to recover from the exhausting day of travel and the day off that you had to take, things like that. But yeah, it's super normal. I lived in Bali with all kinds of people that were working online. Like all of Canggu is people working online and traveling as much as they want.
Yeah, 100%. And what I think is really interesting as well is that not only, like you said, it's not really hard to be traveling full time and working full time. I mean, people do it. I personally got burnt out doing it. And then so I over time, I've changed the way that I travel. And I actually completed my MBA remotely as well. So I've done that as well.
Yeah, I'm like, you're crazy. I would be exhausted.
Yeah, it was exhausting. But I worked out, okay, if I have every month, I knew what my schedule was. So there was like, I had to do 1 or 2 assignments and I'd have to do a test. And so I'd plan all my travel around that. So I was be in one place for a week for that period of time. So it took a lot of planning, but it was possible. But I was also not working full time as well. And then so I've slowed down.
Well, I think that was like part-time hours. Like it was probably 20 or 30 hours a week of coursework.
Yeah, no, it was probably 20 to 25 hours. And then, traveling and then doing a little bit of work. But the really great thing is that because I am a budget traveler and I have low living costs, I don't need to earn so much money to live comfortably if I choose the right destinations. And is that one of the reasons why you decided to stay in Bali in the beginning?
Yeah, because I thought I was gonna be a single mom. Like we were gonna get divorced. And so I was like, I gotta go somewhere where my income can cover us and I can hire help. Because I was so stressed out trying to run a business and be a mom and like homeschooling. It was crazy time. So that was why I initially went there. And I did hear it was awesome. And there's a great digital nomad community. So it's like, okay. So, and they were right. All of it was great. And we loved it. And it was awesome. And because I only had to work part-time to live an amazing life. That's why a lot of people go to Asia or to countries that are cheaper. Unfortunately, when we talk about this, we have to talk about the privilege of that because my money goes further in certain countries and not everybody has that privilege. But at the same time, I'm able to help people in Indonesia that have taken my program and they're earning $20 per day. So I will say that yes, that is true, but you can also earn great money online when you have online work skills, and it kind of levels the playing field a little bit because you can earn great money and then you can travel. And now they're able to travel the world and they never would have dreamed that because they're just little girls from Indonesia that were from the village. So I take it with a grain of salt because I realize that I'm a privileged person, that my money goes far in other countries, but I also want people to hear that and hear that, like, yeah, but I know someone who taught himself how to do graphic design in Bangladesh and took their family out of poverty. So like, there's also great stories that can be encouraging too.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because that's the thing, is like, yeah, it goes both ways, and not always equally, but if we're lucky enough and privileged enough to be able to travel to countries and be able to be like basically like a guest in someone else's in their country and enjoy that and learn about their culture, but at the same time, because we can work online, but at the same time you're offering this online course that is available to everyone, and that means it could possibly empower women who can raise themselves up out of a bad financial situation. And so you've had quite a few like success stories.
Yeah. It's amazing. I have students from it's not Malaysia. It's what's that? And all kinds of cool stuff. Students from Malaysia, Indonesia. Those are the ones that I could think of, and we now have some from Central and South America and South Africa too. So all around the world, people, and anybody can do it, and then they can start traveling and doing what they want to do too. So anybody can do this.
Yeah, and then you could potentially be working with companies that are in countries that have a stronger currency, like, which is what
that is what happens. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm Australian and my clients are in the US because the Australian dollar sucks. So at the moment,
my friend is Canadian and she gets paid in American money, and she's like, I'm making 20 American dollars an hour. I'm balling.
Yeah, even for me,
and for Americans, like, that's not a crazy amount to pay for a virtual assistant, so it ends up working out really well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something else to keep in mind as well, is that it gives you so many more options rather than just like, I live in this country, I earn this amount of money, and maybe your dollar's low or your currency's low and your living costs are high. It doesn't have to be that way. You can change all of that. You can potentially be earning in a different currency and living at a different rate, and so there's a lot more opportunity there. Awesome. So basically we have gone through so much stuff. So I'm going to share lots of links about 20 remote companies that are hiring right now, information about how to set up if you need to set up a company or get registered and that kind of thing in the US with your interview with a lawyer. You also have a podcast that is about how to watch out for scams, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do a new podcast episode about how to get yourself set up if you're Australian too. That'll come out in the coming weeks. And we have lots of like student case studies on there from all different walks of life on the podcast. That could be good. Like homeschooling mom with 5 kids who's traveling the world. A girl who's making $3,000 a month her first month as a virtual assistant traveling the world. So there's lots of cool traveler stories besides just mine of some of our students. And they actually give success tips, like what they did that helps them get there, so that you can actually get some really good takeaways. So those are on the podcast, on the blog too. So the podcast is great. Just subscribe to it because we do a new episode every week, and it's always something that's just helpful to get you working online.
Amazing. So we're going to have all these resources on top of the ones I've already shared about where to find work. How does someone get started if they feel like they don't know what they're doing, they don't have any skills? What should they do?
I would join 90-Day VA. That's the whole point of it. And I'll let you put your link there. And like, that's the whole purpose of it. People are like, well, I don't have any skills. I don't know how to find jobs, or I have some skills, but I'm not sure how to transition them. Like, that is what the program is exactly built for. Don't convince yourself that you're not good enough for this or that you're too above this, because I made it for everybody to go from A to Z. Before we started this call, we were talking about my course and why it's been so successful with over 2,000 students now. We're getting close to 3,000. It's insane. And it is because I made something that could help you go from A to Z and be successful in the end. And that's why I have so many student success stories and so many testimonials, because that is how I designed it. And it's not just like teaching you how to make a social media package. It has that, but it's also teaching you how to find work, how to get work once you find somebody, all my secret tricks and hacks and templates to help you get going. And it includes 6 months access into our job board. And we post 40 to 60 new remote jobs every single week. That's totally different from the free work from home group. These are like from my community, my people who hire my virtual assistants because they know how good quality the they know how good of quality. They know how good of quality? No. How quality the training is. They know how quality the training is, and that's why they want to hire my students. And so they come and again and keep hiring more and more people. So that, if that's what you kind of results you want to have, the 90-day VA is the natural next step for you.
Yeah. And I think it really comes down to, you know, there's a lot of information out there that's online, and sometimes it can be overwhelming, and there are skills that you can learn, or there's things that you can look up, but you won't necessarily know the direction to go in. And at the end of the day, you just have to decide what's more important. Is paying a little bit of money up front and investing in learning these skills that's going to pay off sooner, worth more, or do I want to spend hours and hours and hours of time and take longer to start earning money? And it just, you know, it's time or money.
So many people who've been working online for a few years now keep telling me, I wish I would have had your course when I was first starting out, because there wasn't anything for us and we had to do it all ourselves, and it took forever, and there were so many problems with it. And now we have people who've done it that have been able to make a course and give back and say, okay, here's the best practices, here's what you want to know how to do. And I keep the course updated. So this is the other thing. Like, I'm going to do a new training on TikTok, or I just did one on Instagram stories. Like, anytime something's big in the industry that I want my virtual assistants to be trained in, because I know that they're going to be able to be the best of the best, we add it in, and you pay once and you get lifetime access to everything and all the updates. So it's kind of just like something to have in your back pocket of always being on top of it, because this industry changes quickly. And so we can't just keep hopefully finding some YouTube videos that might teach me no, we got to really be on top of it and constantly be re-educating ourselves, even if it's just a little bit here and there, so that you can be the most highly sought after person out there, because you're have so many skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the learning never stops. That's for sure. But that's part of the fun. You don't get stagnant, because you're always, and that's the time we live in now. Like, so, like, everything happens and moves really fast. So that means that, you know, we have to keep up with that. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, Esther. I know that you know, you have a crazy week. You've just moved house. You've got everything going on. And I so appreciate you taking this time to chat to us.
I am very passionate about helping women work from home. And I will just end with this. Like, if you've been watching or listening, I want you to know that working from home, being able to work online, laptop, take it from place to place, it is not a crazy dream. This isn't something that just those rich people do, or they have a rich spouse, or, well, they can do it because they don't have kids. It is not true. All those beliefs that you've been telling yourself is a bunch of baloney. And that's what I say, because I have a 9-year-old son, so I can't swear. It's a bunch of baloney, okay? You can do this. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter if English is your first language. It doesn't matter if you have a degree or don't have a degree. Anybody can do this. And I'm saying that with complete truth behind my eyes and behind my mouth, because I have students that have done it. I have students, like I said, from the backwoods of Bali who are now able to work from home earning $20 US per hour or more, and are talking about immigrating to Canada just because they feel like it. I have students that are English is not their first language, and they work for me now. I hired them because they were great, and they took my course, they learned the skills. So whatever your background is, whatever the reasons are, and it could be not even just travel. It could be that you have a sick family member that you want to be able to go and visit, or you have kids and you guys love traveling. You don't want to travel full time, but sometimes would be nice. Those are all like viable, real reasons why this can work for you. So if you're at all interested, you can even stalk me on Instagram and TikTok, Esther_Inman. You can see I'm a real person, and I'm this, extroverted every single day. But I'm always here to answer questions, and I genuinely care about helping people open their eyes and see what is possible for them. And if 90-day VA is part of your journey of getting to what's possible for you, then great. If not, then let's just hang out and be friends on Instagram.
Yeah, I love watching your Instagram stories, first of all, because you have these awesome Instagram story takeovers, so I can see all these women who are working around the world, and like, this is what my day is like, and I'm like, that's amazing. I feel like I get such a nice insight, and also I get to see you dance all the time.
Yes.
So
every week.
Thank you so much. I'm going to let you get back to your family. We so appreciate you, and good luck with your new house.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. Oh, where's the pause button?